things that we have in our heart that we think are impossible are often just milestones waiting to get accomplished if you can push those limits. Everything was impossible until somebody else did it. So you can either hang around people who tell you it can be done or hang around those that inspire possibilities. Welcome to the Inspiring Possibilities podcast. I'm your host, Julian Marion, and let's go. Decoding Men, Mythbusters edition. All right, so let's tackle this head on, like a linebacker going for the game-winning tackle, okay? So we've all heard the myth about men, right? They're from Mars, they only have one thing on their mind. You know, they're about as emotional as a teaspoon. Well, prepare to have your mind blown because we're about to bust some myth and sprinkle a little truth dust on what really means to understand men. All right? So let's talk about myth number one. Men are not emotional. Now, this is the granddaddy of all myth, right? Truth bomb. Truth bomb. Not bond. Truth. Oh my gosh, I can't say it. Truth bomb. Men are emotional. And they're emotional beings too. They just express it differently. It's like comparing a cactus to a willow tree, right? Both needs water to survive, but they show their needs in a different way. And recognizing and appreciating these differences is key to understanding the emotional landscape of the man, right? Matter of fact, like believe it or not, I am more emotional than my wife. Like we find that out. I am to some extent more volatile instead of my emotions, than my wife is, right? And my capacity sometimes is, to hold those emotions is less than hers, right? She can handle and hold those emotions much longer, than I can. So myth number one, men are not emotional. Busted. Okay. Myth number two, men only want one thing. Sure, physically, and physical attraction is important, but reducing all men to this one-dimensional caricature misses the vastness of the desire, right? Men crave connection, respect, companionship, and yes, love and intimacy, just as much as anyone else. But it's about time we give, right, or given to the men, right? It gives them more credit for the complexity of their needs, right? It's not just about necessarily like the release, although it is important, but it's about the connection. Because sometimes men will have this piece that is, yes, the physical piece, but it's because this is one of the ways that they feel connected. This is the intimacy part. So, myth number two, men only want one thing. Busted. Okay, myth number three, men hate talking about feelings. Okay, well, it's true that not every man wants to dive deep into an emotional heart-to-heart, right, at the drop of a hat. It doesn't mean they're allergic to feelings. Like, it's more about finding the right time, place, and manner, right? So it's like approaching it like a stealth ninja rather than a bull in a china shop, right? Because if you do that, you might be surprised by how much a man is willing to share, right? Women are quicker to share their feelings, their emotion. But to say that men hate talking about their feelings is not accurate, right? It's about the right timing, the right time, place, and manner that it's approached, right? That's why a guy can go and just share with another guy like how he's really feeling, like unfiltered, rawness, like super raw about how he's feeling. He's not trying to hide anything, right? So myth number three, men hate talking about feelings. Busted. Okay, myth number four, men are clueless about relationships. Okay, wrong again. Men think about relationships a lot, right? They might just not be as vocal about it. Plus, every man has a unique set of relationship skills and insights, right? Like, it's about tapping into that potential, encouraging the open dialogue, and learning from each other, right? Because a man has a high level also of intuition instead of relationship. Yes, he has backstories of a preconceived notion, right? But men are not clueless about relationship. They're not. So myth number four, men are clueless about relationship. Busted. Okay, myth number 5, men don't need reassurance. Okay, everyone, and I mean everyone, likes to feel appreciated and reassured. Men included. Like a simple, I appreciate you, can go a long way. It's like giving water to that cactus we talked about earlier, right? It might not show much on the outside, but it's thriving on the inside, right? And I think that's sometime, like, whenever in my relationship with Mallory, that is something that, that I had shared, right? Like I had shared like how I needed to be able to hear appreciation from my wife, right? As much as it could have sounded like needy. I was like, it was not necessarily the reasoning behind it was not the neediness. It was just a show of appreciation, right? Because it did something on the inside, right? It made me want to go harder, push further. It's hard to explain, right? But to be able to be appreciated by people that you truly care about as a man is huge, because we already feel like we can't show all the emotions. We can't show all the cards because we have to be able to be a pillar. If that pillar shows weakness or shows that it's not strong in holding, straight, then it can affect the rest of the units, right? So myth number 4, or should I say myth number 5, men don't need reassurance. Busted. Okay. So understanding like men isn't about decoding an alien species, right? Like it's about recognizing and valuing the beautiful complexity of the human right in front of you, us. Like by busting these myths, hopefully we open up a world of deeper connection, mutual respect, and ultimately a stronger partnership, right? So let's put away like the myth manual and start writing our own manual, like one based on truth, understanding, and maybe a little humor. Like, you can call me a little cactus. You can call me a little cactus, right? So that was Decoding Men, Mythbuster edition. Let's move on. Okay, I wanted to try something a little bit different inside of this podcast, right? I think a lot of time when you listen to a podcast is just like you sitting there and then just listening, right? And so you're getting a bunch of information, but it's sometimes hard to, hard to do something with it, right? Because you don't have the time necessarily. Okay, so here, depending on what you're doing, whether you're in a car, or you're mowing the lawn, or you're doing laundry, I want you to be able to think, okay? So a format that we're going to use is going to be reflection, feeling, revelation, action, okay? So I'm going to ask the question, then you're going to have like a little prelude, like a little music, where you can go and think about the answer to that question, okay? So question number 1, instead of what we just talked about, decoding men, decoding men Mythbuster, like what did you hear as you listened to me speak about those myths, right? What did you hear for yourself in your own words? Like the essence of the myth and truth unveiled. So music is going to play, and then you're just going to process that. If you have something to write on it. If you don't, just process the question. What did you hear for you in your own words regarding the essence of the myth I talked about and the truth unveiled? 3, 2, 1, off you go. All right, question number 2. This is an easy one. This is the feeling one. What one word describes the feeling you had as you listened to me talk about the myth, decoding those myths, right? So what is the one word describing the feeling you had as you listened to me through the debunking of the common myth about men. 3, 2, 1, off you go. All right, so we talked about feelings, now revelation. What was your major takeaway or revelation from what I just said about decoding men and the different myths? Like, how does it shift your understanding of men? If you are a man, how does this shift your understanding of yourself? Do you agree, disagree? What lesson did you get? What revelation did you get? 3, 2, 1, off you go. Last one, action. So based on your insight, what do you know you need to do next, right? Like, how can you apply this understanding in your relationships? 3, 2, 1, off you go. All right, how was it? I'm sure it was different. I'm sure you were like, I don't know. Do I do something? You kind of is giving me like a couple seconds here. How long are the seconds? All right. But I think it's important whenever you get new information to be able for yourself to write something and process it, right? So what was your reflection? What was your feeling? What was the lesson in revelation? And then what action did you have to be able to move forward? You know, inside of our coaching, right, in the movement I'm leading, the Dad, the Myth, the Legend, one of the tools that we use is called a stack. Now, the stack is a tool that allows you to reframe stories, right? Because oftentimes as men, as dads, as entrepreneurs, we're consistently just on the go. Like do all the time. Rarely do we have a moment of being a dad, being a man, being an entrepreneur, just being, right? Not doing all the work required, right? And sometimes it can just feel overwhelming because when we want to have time to just be, we're asked to do more. And so the stack is a tool that allows you to do a couple things. One, the first one, it allows you to pause. It allows you to purposefully stop. Stop, do nothing. Declare this is a moment that I'm pausing, that I'm clicking the pause button, that I'm stopping in this whirlwind of life. I'm stopping because I can feel that I got triggered by something. And when I say trigger, I know sometimes people feel like trigger is a negative thing, but it's not always. You know, sometimes you can be triggered to be happy. Sometimes you can be triggered to be grateful, right? So trigger is not just an angry trigger or a sad trigger. Like, you can be triggered to be happy, to be joyful, right? So I'm pausing because I got triggered. I'm making the deliberate decision to pause. Then I'm going and I'm submitting. I'm submitting to the facts about that situation, whatever that situation may be, right? In the context of what we just did here, I stopped because I got triggered some type of way, like something just, took me out of my autopilot to something else. So I decided to pause, or Julian made me pause by asking me those questions, right? And then I'm submitting to the facts about the situation. Those facts are stripped away from feelings. They're just straight up just facts. What are the facts about the situation I'm currently in? Right? Like, what are the facts? Right? Which is instead of like the reflection, for example, it's like to just say what this is based on your, on your words. the essence of the myth. That's just facts for you of what that is. Then after we've done, the submitting to the facts, then now we go into the step 3 or phase 3, which is the struggle. This is like the struggling with having to reframe a situation, understanding that we, to some extent, control the story, the narrative that we're telling ourselves. Like we to some extent control it, right? Is the cup half full or half empty? I don't know. It's at the same level, but your story and your narrative, this determines which one it is, right? It's like this. It's like there's 3 things that you control all the time. Number 1 is you control what you're going to focus on. Is this the end or is this the beginning? Right? Am I going to die or am I getting stronger? Then 2, you decide what is the meaning of it. Right? What am I going to focus on? Then what does that mean? Then number 3 is the action. What am I going to do with it? Like all 3 of those, I have you consider, they're 100% your decisions. Like, yes, some people can influence you, but they're yours. Then nobody that's going to say, hey, no, this is the only focus. Nope, you decide to focus. Hey, no, this is what it means. Nope, this is what it means. Right? Oh, this is what you need to do. Nope, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I decide those 3. And so therefore, inside of the struggle, we go into the struggle of just reframing the story that is empowering, focusing on what is important to us, giving the empowering meaning, and then having the proper action. So that leads us to step 4 or phase 4, which is the strike, which is the action. Okay, cool. Now that we pause. Now that we submitted to the fact. Now that we struggle to reframe the story, deciding what the focus is, what the meaning is. Now is the action. What am I going to do with it? Right? Where am I going to pivot next? What am I doing next? Now, I'll have you consider this simple action to pause, submit, struggle, and strike has the power to transform your life. Not just change your life, triangle, pivoting, but transform a triangle becoming a circle, that becomes a square, that becomes a star. Like it becomes something different, right? And that tool is called a stack. And it's a tool that, the men that I coach, the men that are using it, it has just changed their life forever because it's a deliberate decision that they're making. And transformation happens in the decision, not in the outcome of the decision. You deciding to show up, there's a transformation that happens there. You deciding to listen to my voice here, there's a transformation happening. Not the outcome of it, but the decision to show up. The decision to show up for your family. The decision to show up for your God. The decision to show up for your calling. The decision to show up for yourself and appreciating yourself. The decision to take care of your body every single day. That's a decision, and there's a transformation behind it. Right? So, I hope you love this format. I like the format. I think it's different, it's interesting, it excites me. And I think if it excites me, that means I have a different level of energy coming out into your little earbuds or into the car. And so I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. This should be, I think, on Spotify, depending on what you're listening to. If you can find this episode on Spotify, there is an option on Spotify to be able to actually send me a voice message directly or to send me a comment or a message. So try it. Let's see how it works. But until then, it's Julian Marion signing out. Saying remember to release it, be seen, don't hide. Talk to you soon.